Right guys, welcome back to the channel. Look at what my dad just brought. A Volkswagen T4 Multivan from 1999. In a van world, those are absolute legends. People do all kind of crazy builds with them. People take them off-roading, travel around the world in them. But this one is gonna need some work. So, first impressions, I mean, it looks really nice. Of course, there is a bit of rust here and there, but you know, it's an older car and it's not terrible. My dad already went to the body shop and discussed with them, so soon he will probably take it to fix it. Look at the wheel arches. It's really not bad. Of course, some rust is coming through, but most of it is not like structural, so that shouldn't be much of a problem to fix. We also have a bit of a issue on the roof that there is a lot of paint coming off. It was a car from the south of France, I believe, so probably there was a lot of sun beating on the roof all day long, and that's why it's coming off. But body shop also gonna take care of this. Mechanically, it runs almost perfect. The owners before us changed the timing belt and the double mass clutch like literally 5,000 kilometers ago. So in that matter, it's absolutely perfect. Of course, we're gonna do the basic maintenance, so oil change, filters and stuff like that, but that's gonna be later in the video. For now, let me show you the interior because we have few things to fix there. One of them is hanging headliner. I don't think that's how it's supposed to look like. That will be kind of a job. Other than that, we have an issue with passenger door. As you can see, the little knob doesn't spring back and the window doesn't open at all. So we have to fix that. We will take the whole side cover off and see what's going on there. And we have to clean the car because it's pretty filthy. Not to mention that we have 3 different keys for a car. And I'm serious about it. Like, one of them starts the car, the other 2 are for different doors. So we have to sort that out because it's super annoying. It shouldn't be like that. We'll probably change the locks, or if it's possible, we're gonna take the locks that are currently in the doors, give them to some guy to cut them according to the main key for the ignition system. But that's enough of me talking, let's get to work. Before we can fix anything, everything has to come out. Out come the heavy middle seats, down come the plastic trim, and finally, we can drop this absolute disaster of a headliner. So what we've managed to do so far is taking the whole headliner out and most of the plastic trim. What we plan to do now is run the wires while we have access to them to the back of the car for the parking sensors and the rear view camera. Then we're gonna attack the front, so we will have to mount the multimedia station. We're gonna have to fix the passenger door and the passenger window, and we'll go from there. So let's get to work. We started the whole process by marking 4 spots on the bumper where the sensors will go. The instruction told us it should be between 30 to 60 centimeters between the sensor. Then we had to drill the holes with the included drill bit. Me and my dad then removed the bumper, and start planning where to run the wires. Of course, there was a quick break to pet the dogs. Then we found the perfect spot to run the wires with the original loom. We pushed them through, solder installed the cabin, and then it was time to run the wires to the front of the car. I ran them the exact same route the factory wires did it. We then connected everything to the multimedia screen and check if it's working. You can see the rear camera is starting on. Unfortunately, I don't have a sound for the parking sensors, but you can imagine how they sound. Then it was time to mark a spot in the bumper for the backup camera where the tow bar wouldn't be visible. Why we install it in the bumper instead of the rear door? Well, we couldn't fit the wires through the original loom and we didn't want to risk drilling the new hole, running the wires and then finding out it's not sealed properly. We decided it's easier to mount the camera in the bumper is plastic, it's easy to replace if you ever want to do it, and it was already in a pretty rough shape. Here you can see I actually decided to fix some of the plastic mounts, so I welded them back on. Then it was time to actually run the parking sensors through the drilled hole. Get all the wires at least semi-tidy, I would say, and mount the bumper again. Then some more pads. Few final screws. And we're done. We upgraded the rear, so now it's time for the front. To install the new screen, we had to do some space on the dashboard. We started by removing the old radio, removing some of the plastic trim, and what we found out was some beautiful wiring. I couldn't leave those wires like that, so I decided to take the soldering iron out and fix them properly. We then put the heat shrink over them, and that's one wire done. The other one was pretty much the same steps. I had a better access, so I decided to use a crimp-on on it instead of soldering. Then I put a heat shrink over it, and again, that's job done. It's time to strip the rest of the dashboard. We remove the remaining trims, all the fake buttons, tray, vents, climate control buttons, but of course it couldn't be that easy. Behind the old radio there is a huge chunk of metal. This beam is basically like a bridge between the left and the right 8 pillars. But for our use case, we will have to slim that beam a little bit. Decided to cut it through the open window that we created by removing the plastic in the old radio instead of removing the whole dashboard. First we started with the chisel saw to cut the edges, and then I use a small wheel grinder to cut the top and the bottom half. As you would expect from the old Volkswagen, that was a tough metal to cut. But finally, in the end, we managed to get it out. It leaves us enough space to fit the new multimedia screen. Then quickly vacuum the whole thing. Then we had to cut the old plastic trim to make it fit with the new radio. But the results and the new functionalities was totally worth it. Then it came time to reassemble everything, which is as always easier said than done. We were fighting to fit all the new cables running behind the plastics, but when we finally managed to do that, oh, it looked like a factory. And you can see the smile on my dad's face, which for this project, that's the most important thing. We solved the mystery of sogging headliner. I mean, it wasn't much of a mystery, but when we were installing the multimedia screen, it was raining and, well, it started dripping on our heads, even though the sunroof, sunglass, I don't even know how to call it properly, started leaking. It was leaking from this bolt. Oh, you can even see it right now, it's still wet, and on the other side as well. So this one is dry currently, but you can see there is a lot of corrosion on it. The locks as well, like all of this is corroded. So there are two things that comes to our mind immediately. One of them is the seal, of course, around the sunroof, but first I think we're gonna check the drains. So on the top, when we take the seal out from around the glass, there should be two drains coming from both sides, going down to the A-pillars and underneath the car. We'll see if those drains are clogged. If they are, then the water would be staying on top of the seal and eventually seeping into the car. So that's one of the possibilities. The other one is, well, it's a 30-year-old car, so the seal could be just bad. Like it might be hard as a rock and it's just leaking. So we'll see about that. But yeah, we have to fix that before we're gonna install the new headlight. Otherwise, you know, it's gonna happen again and we don't want that. So, you know the drill. Let's do it. So, the roof glass is leaking. Originally, I told you guys it was either a bad seal or the sunroof drains were clogged. As it turns out, I'm an idiot. Spoiler alert, T4 Multivans don't actually have sunroof drains, which means there is only one option.
Okej, trzymaj, a ja wezmę ją z góry. Szybko. Dobra.
Look at this, we found two massive rust spots hiding underneath the old bottle sealant. Water was literally just walking straight past the seal over the rust and into the cabin. Time to play the role of the body shop. We sanded all the crunchy rust back to bare metal. And just in case, my dad went with a heavy-duty rust converter. We also water tested the actual glass frame of the van, making sure the glass isn't leaking itself. But turns out, totally dry. We then had a new visitor.
I just don't even care anymore.
Then came the worst part, scraping the 25-year-old sticky butyl tape. I tackled the glass, my dad tackled the roof, and we got it down to perfectly clean surface, but I don't recommend this job. Then, with a thick bit of fresh butyl laid down, we dropped the glass back in. Technically, the butyl paste should be immediately waterproof, but just to be sure, we let it dry for like a day or two, and then we started testing. Okay, let's go. My dad is pouring in water to see if we see any leaks. But so far, so good. Fully dry on the other side as well. That's the spot that we had to fix. Okay, looking promising. I think we're good, guys. I think we are good. Hell yes. While we have that out of the way, it's time to check what's wrong with the passenger door. We started by removing the side trim. It was basically held by 3 screws behind the handle and some cables that you have to disconnect for the speaker. Then, we did some visual inspection and tested the window on its own. You can hear it's clicking, so it's getting power, but it's not moving even a bit, so it must be stuck. We disconnected the whole thing. The plan right now is that my dad is gonna tape the window to the frame before we're gonna remove the whole assembly. It's gonna be easier to work on it like that, and we can do a proper inspection. So, with a bit of duct tape, we are making sure that the window is not gonna fall on our hands. Just as a double safety, my dad added a bit of wood in between the frame and the window. That baby ain't going anywhere. I then removed the screws holding the whole assembly in. And it was a fight to get it out through the hole at the top. The whole mechanism is very simple. It gets power, turn the engine. At the end of the engine there is a plastic gear that has a wire on it, winds it left or right, depending if the window goes up or down. I took the whole thing apart to check and inspect what's going on. And, as we could have expected, a lot of dirt inside of the engine. There was no time to waste. I cleaned the whole thing, reassemble it, and we started testing again. And disappointment. You can see the engine is only moving like a millimeter every time we press the button and stops. I checked on the Volkswagen forum and a lot of people said there is something burnt on the motherboard that causes it to happen that way. So we ordered the parts, and in the meantime we are going to fix the locking pin of the door. It turns out it's just a missing piece of plastic at the end of the rod. My dad had a full bag of them, so it was a very simple fix. Push one in, put the rod back in, and done. And the next day the parts came. So what we have here: the famous brand new second-hand parts. We have two central locking actuators for the side door and the rear door, as they were completely missing with our actuators. There is a replacement window motor as well. As always, before installation, we're gonna test if the ordered engine is working properly, but as you can see on the video, it seems that it does what it expected. So I'm swapping the old assembly for the new one, and we should be good to go. But as always, things doesn't go as smooth as you expect. I rebuild the whole thing, plug it back in, and well, the same thing as before. The engine moves by a millimeter and then stops. As you can see, you can move the whole assembly up and down, but that's not very comfortable. And then I understood my mistake. You see the cover of the engine? I turned it 180 degrees, which means I changed the polarity of the engine. That's why it's not working. After a quick correction, the engine is spinning like crazy. What's the funny part? Both of the engines turns out to be good, so now we have a spare. I'm not gonna bore you again with changing the whole assembly up, so here you have it, putting it back in the car, and again, Dad is doing the honor. No yes!
No jest.
Well, look like the happiness was a bit too early. It's raining today and unfortunately the roof glass is still leaking. It's not leaking from the same spot, so that's a plus because it means that we actually fixed something. But I think that we still gotta take a look around the seal for the glass itself and not for the whole glass roof. Why is it leaking? I don't know. We tried testing it while we have it out. Maybe it's because now it's raining and the water is, well, standing still on the old gasket, which might very slowly seep into the cabin. Yeah, so, well, not exactly back to square one, but kinda, you know, a feeling of one step forward, two step backwards. But we're gonna get it done. So my plan is to clean this out and put some new silicone spray around it and see if that's gonna help and maybe restore the seal. If not, then we'll see. I don't have an idea for now other than that. So I'm gonna spray some compressed air to clean all of this. As you can see, there is some mud and stuff underneath the seal, so maybe it's not sealing properly, and I'm gonna put some silicone spray all around it to, well, restore it if it's possible. So, while we wait for some rain to happen to double check that our sunroof repair actually holds water, we are knocking out the smaller details, starting with the rear windshield washer tube that turns out it's not broken anywhere, it was just disconnected. Then a quick installation of our rear lock actuator. Next up on our list is making one key working for the whole car. I've seen some YouTube videos, turns out it should be a fairly simple job. I'm not gonna pay somebody for it, we're just gonna try to do it our own. So, we remove the lock from the door. Then there is a small pin that you have to hammer out to take the whole barrel out of the assembly. Remember to keep the key inside the lock if you don't want to lose the springs or the internal locking pins. Just in case if you are afraid, you can take some pictures while taking it apart, but it's literally like 3-part stops. Now we put the key that is working for the ignition with the immobilizer and everything to check how many locking pins in the barrel are sticking out. Then you have to swap them around and see how many you can fit perfectly. If they are flush with the surface, it means they are good to go. If they are sticking out even a bit, you have two options. You can buy the new locking pins and swap them around. If you have multiple locks to fix, then you can remove all the internal pins and try to make as many as you can fit the current key. We decided to go with an easier route. It turns out we could fit perfectly like 6 out of 8 locking pins, so we just use a bit of sandpaper for the remaining 2 to cut them to size. And here, as you can see, it works like a charm. I know it's not on the video, but we've actually tested with the old key and it doesn't open the car anymore, so it's working as expected. There was nothing else left to do but to fix the rest of the locks. So we've done the same thing for the rear door, and again, pure happiness, one key for the whole car. Remember when I told you that rust wasn't such a big deal? Well, it turns out there is more holes than I expected, but you know, we have some spare metal, we have a welder in the garage, and we have a lot of wheel power. So let's get it done. First, car has to go up. The wheel has to go down. And then cutting the old metal out. We have to find healthy metal underneath all of the rust, because otherwise, even if we're gonna weld a new patch, it will rust in a couple of months. And we want to make this as permanent as we can. After cutting the old metal out, I had to clean and prep the surface for the weld. There was a lot of this spongy material all over the wheel arch. I think it actually did a really good job over the years, but it was a nightmare to take it off. It felt really bad inhaling that in, so I decided to put a mask on and a hat, just in case, to prevent at least a little bit of that getting into my lungs. After that, we made a professional template with a cardboard that we then transfer onto the piece of metal. Please don't shout in the comments on me. I know those welds don't look good, but their purpose is only to extend the life of this car. It doesn't have to be perfect, nobody will be looking at it. And I completely messed up the settings of the welder, so it didn't go as smooth as I expected. But, well, you live, you learn, next time it's gonna be better. It will do the job for now. We then cover it up with a thick layer of Rust-Oleum, and that's the job done. Got the wheel mostly done. The roof is not leaking anymore, so cleaning the seal and spraying some silicone spray actually helped. What we plan to do now is finish the interior, do the mechanical stuff. So there is a small oil leak. As some would say, it's not oil leak, it's just marking its territory. And yeah, we'll go from there. As my dad started working on the headliner, he changed his mind about the backup camera. So, while I was working on rerouting all the cables through the old loom, which, as mentioned before, was extremely difficult for some reason, my dad was cleaning the old material from the headliner. Right, we have the headliner ready. We never done this before, so I don't know if I have any recommendations. We'll see how it goes. We have to glue the whole thing, put the new material on and reinstall it back in the car. We're gonna start with a smaller piece, so if we don't make it, then we have some extra material to redo it. When we feel comfortable, we're gonna move on to the other side and do the big piece. So, fingers crossed, guys. Hopefully it's gonna work out. As we have no prior experience to that, we follow the instruction. We prepared both the surfaces, so the material and the headliner itself, by putting glue in a crisscross pattern. One of them was vertical, one of them was horizontal. We then placed material on top of the headliner and gently squeezed it into place. For all the cutouts where the lamps go or the sunroof or whatever it could be, we used an X-Acto blade to cut it in an X shape and turn it upside down to glue the edges to the other side so it never comes undone. As you can see, not the worst, not the best. It's not even that the headliner was in a terrible shape, but we stretched it slightly too hard and it left some dents from the fingers. But when you install all the plastic in the car, it won't be visible. On to the big piece. Because it was so large, we decided to split it into parts. We were only gluing a bit, putting the material on, and continuing with another piece. Okay, this one came a lot better. I believe the technique is that you cannot push the foam, you just have to very gently smear it around. With the beautifully redone headliner, it's time to reinstall the interior. We started with the front of the car, where we installed the smaller piece, the A-pillar trims, and then move on to the back. Basically, the system is reversed what you've done when you were taking it apart, so start with the headliner as it came out last, and then putting all the trim back. While we have access to some of the parts that probably hasn't seen daylight in 30 years, we decided to give them a proper clean before installation. Also, a pro tip for the future: if you have access to any mechanism that is hidden behind the plastic, always try to look them up before installation. It will save you a lot of trouble in the future. And last but not least, the detailing of the car. Here you have a few close-ups of how the car looked like before we start cleaning it. Let's take the vacuums out of the garage and start the dirty work. At the cinema, then we gotta keep it all a secret like the Pentagon. All these peeping times, people asking me they just wishing they could watch it blow. You can see the water coming out of the chairs is absolutely disgusting. I've washed them like 3 times and the difference at the end was night and day. I'm so grateful. Thankfully, we had a heat wave hitting the Poland. During the weekend there was like 39 degrees outside, so it was a perfect day for washing the whole car because it was drying immediately. To the stage with a drink like I'm Giveon, but I never came here to sing what I'm really on, giving dividends. I'm trying to boost your career and all. Then came time to reinstall the chairs, but as you can see from the sweat on my forehead, the weather was brutal that day. At the cinema, then we gotta keep it all a secret like the Pentagon. All these peeping times, people asking me what we've been on. I know that it's bond, they just wishing they could watch it glow, watch it go through the fire like the Shaka song. Ay, through the fire like a Shaka song. Ay, through the fire like I'm taking off. Like a rocket, I got wishes in my pocket. I can grant a couple things, girl, that really ain't no problem, cause you I swear she drives me crazy, think my brain is gone. Man, I just can't shake it like delirium. Then we added few final accents. and that's the job done. So guys, we are pretty much done with the interior. We cleaned the whole thing. We are still waiting for the driver's seat. We're gonna install the old one for now, but we order a new one to swap it out because you've seen there is a gaping hole in the chair. But we vacuumed the whole car, we wash all of the chairs, the sofa, so it's pretty much ready to go. And I hope you enjoyed it. In the next one, we are going to tackle the oil leak. We have probably the crankshaft seal is leaking because I've checked the paperwork, and when they've done the timing belt they didn't change the seals, so that's going to be next. And we will have to do all the body work. We decided we're going to do it ourselves, so painted the roof, get rid of the rust underneath the car. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.
Like it's the lyrics.